While I cannot speak for each overseas territory, I believe it is safe to say that the UK and its OTs continue to have a strong partnership on tackling economic crime. Clamping down on illicit finance and applying UK sanctions are high priorities on our common agenda. Behind the scenes, our respective officials and law enforcement authorities continue to work closely together on investigations and other matters. I wish to speak specifically to the BVI situation, which has attracted much media attention. The BVI has a strong track record on cooperation with the UK on economic crime initiatives. In 2013, during the UK's G8 presidency, the BVI and other OTs signed on to the Multilateral Convention on Information Exchange. We also agreed to automatic exchange of information with the UK and adopted action plans on beneficial ownership. In 2016, when the UK hosted its anti-corruption summit, the BVI and other OTs committed to the establishment of central registers of beneficial ownership and to sharing with UK law enforcement in real time beneficial ownership information as set out in the exchange of notes agreements. In 2024, the BVI and other OTs agreed to implement accessible registers of beneficial ownership that would provide public access to their registers on a legitimate interest basis. For some OTs, the policy details are still being worked out based on constitutional safeguards, respect for human rights, and security considerations. But the expectation is that all of the territories will have their systems in place by 2026. It is true that over the years there has been friction between the UK and OTs on the UK's handling of their participation in UK economic crime initiatives. However, as partners, we have largely been able to find workable arrangements that take into account the specific circumstances of the territories. Let me be clear. The BVI fully supports the Foreign Secretary's campaign against illicit finance. In fact, in 2023, the BVI hosted and chaired the first UK OT illicit finance dialogue among officials, and we have continued to positively engage with the UK on this high priority. Moreover, BVI cooperation in the application of UK sanctions has seen the freezing of assets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and we continue to take that work forward with UK support. The BVI also played a critical role in assisting the UK with securing its first unexplained wealth order in 2018 involving Zamira Hajieva. We are very proud that on multiple occasions, UK law enforcement has officially expressed satisfaction with the BVI's cooperation and support. However, much of this has been overshadowed by negative press, largely driven by campaigners, charities, certain media houses, journalists, and members of parliament. In their ongoing efforts to pressure the UK government to take action against the OTs on public registers, they have unfairly scapegoated the BVI and continue to do so. The size of our corporate register makes us an easy target, but the widespread use of BVI companies is because they are a great tool for structuring and efficiently facilitating investment and cross-border business. In most instances, the people criticizing the BVI have never even visited the islands or engaged with its financial services industry or the government to actually get a proper understanding of the services the industry provides to the business community and their value to the world economy. This is why the BVI government is very pleased that the UK government's anti-corruption czar, Dame Margaret Hodge, will visit the BVI in a few weeks' time to get a better understanding of the jurisdiction. When she arrives, she will see that the BVI is a real place where real people live, work, and raise their families, versus this negative portrayal of the islands as a tax haven populated by an army of lawyers, accountants, and bankers. The BVI is a vibrant community that has gone from being the poorest islands in the federal colony of the Leeward Islands to the thriving society it is today. We Virgin Islanders are very proud of this after a very dark and difficult history with the UK. Financial services are the BVI's main revenue earner. It is also the UK's main revenue earner. and vital to sustaining the public finances and economy. It is notable that a key feature of the UK's growth agenda involves shifting to lighter touch regulation of the financial services industry to boost the sector's international competitiveness. Understandably, the UK is prepared to accept greater risk to achieve the growth it desires. In the BVI, we too are seeking to boost our international competitiveness as a jurisdiction. However, in doing so, we have to be extremely careful about going beyond the international standards set by the Financial Action Task Force. The wrong step could trigger business flight and see legitimate business go to other jurisdictions whose corporate transparency standards do not exceed FATF requirements. Like the UK, we are trying to find the right balance in this new era of higher tariffs and economic uncertainty. Financial services accounts for over 60% of government revenue, that accounts for 2/3 of the BVI budget, which funds our healthcare system, school system, police force, roads, sidewalks, and other public infrastructure. Its contribution to the government coffers pays the salaries of doctors, nurses, teachers, police officers, and other public servants. We must keep in mind that the BVI has not received any financial transfers from the UK since 1978 to fund its budget. I am confident the UK Treasury would not want to see the BVI on its books as an additional financial obligation that British taxpayers must meet. So, the BVI in the UK must continue to engage meaningfully on financial services regulation as we seek the right balance for our societies and economies as we tackle economic crime. Finally, as the UK and OTs look ahead, we must bear in mind that no jurisdiction, no country is zero risk. Not the UK, the OTs, not the BVI, not anywhere. We all have improvements to make to be better at effectively identifying and tackling economic crime. A few months ago, the FATF placed the BVI on its gray list to give the government an opportunity to make changes to its regulatory regime that were delayed by the devastation of 2 Category 5 hurricanes in 2017, followed by the COVID-19 global pandemic from 2020 to 2023, and then the territory's implementation of the recommendations of a Commission of Inquiry report. The government is working assiduously to improve the areas that require strengthening or updating so that the jurisdiction can be reevaluated by the FATF and delisted at the earliest possible juncture. The UK has provided good support in this regard. You may recall that the Cayman Islands went through a similar process and was subsequently removed from the FATF grey list after making the necessary adjustments. We are doing the same. I would like to point out that the BVI has a strong record of compliance with FATF standards on anti-money laundering, counter-terrorist financing, and tax evasion. The grey listing is a temporary departure. In closing, I want to reiterate that the UK and OTs continue to be strong partners in tackling economic crime. The BVI unequivocally supports the Foreign Secretary's campaign against illicit finance, and we will continue doing our part to help tackle it. The OTs work on legitimate interest-based access to beneficial ownership information will lead the way internationally in setting a practical and effective standard for access by the public to this information, which is much along the lines of the UK's own regime for access to information on trusts. The BVI's only ask is that we are treated fairly and that UK policy toward the OTs does not disadvantage them relative to the Crown dependencies. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to the presentations by my fellow panelists.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation in relation to the BVI.